My name is Jane Owen. I own Jane Owen Public Relations based in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. I've been doing PR pretty much most of my life. I started as an intern when I was 17 in London and moved to LA when I was 21 with no real contacts. But just an idea of what I wanted to do, and got into PR through various means, but mainly through determination and knowing what I wanted to do with my life. So now I own Jane Owen Public Relations. It's been around for 5 years. I've had 2 previous companies to that I owned with business partners, and I've worked in PR for other companies as well, including for Van Cleef & Arpels and Chopard in London, and then Shine Media in New York, where I launched a fashion line called Rebecca Minkoff that you might have heard of. I've worked with film companies like the Yari Film Group, who did Crash and The Illusionist and The Matador. I did the premiere of a movie for Warner Brothers called How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, based on the book, with Jeff Bridges and Kirsten Dunst, and several other big movies as well. My company is, we have 2 sections. We have half which are retainer clients, which range from actors, singers, directors. We also represent fashion designers. We represent film production companies. We represent restaurants, hotels, new media, technology, products. I have a second company called Indulge House, which is a celebrity gifting suite, which means we give stuff to celebrities for free in exchange for them to promote the products. That is in LA as well as Berlin. I just opened Jane Owen PR in London last year, and I'm hoping to open it in Dubai soon. With Ethan, who is right there. Anyway, so I had made a few notes about what I wanted to talk about, so I'm just going to go briefly through those, and then I'd love to open the floor to questions. One very big question I always get is, what is public relations? What is the difference between public relations and advertising? What's the difference between PR and marketing, for example? Well, public relations is when you hire a company to work with the editors and the producers of the media that you want to get in touch with. Advertising and marketing is when you buy that exposure. And the difference really is there's a huge difference, because when you have someone who convinces an editor to write about your product, it's about a 500 times more valuable exposure, because as a reader, when you're looking at a magazine, you know what an advertisement is. You know when you're looking at something that's been paid for. But when something has been chosen by someone whose job it is to decide what goes in the magazine and doesn't, or a producer who decides who we're going to talk to, who we're not going to talk to, that is what you're paying for. You're paying for your product or your personality or whatever it is that the client is to be chosen. And that relationship, that exposure comes down to the talent of the publicist in convincing that editor that your product and you are better than everything else that they're being pitched. So it's a very valuable job. And what it comes down to, as far as the PR is concerned, is really believing in that client and then believing in that product and having the voice and the strength to knock on as many doors as it takes to get that exposure for you. So an advertiser can buy any kind of advertising. They can, as long as you have the money, you can pay for an advert in Vogue. But will it really make an impact? It's hard to say. I mean, it's it's definitely not going to make as much of an impact as when you read a feature article on the talent you're representing, or the product, or the venue, whatever it is that the client is. So that's the main difference. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. So what is an effective public relations strategy? That's another thing that I've been asked. Like, how do you know that what you're doing makes any difference? Well, I guess in essence, the first step is the same as when you're doing an advertising campaign. You really have to know who your market is. You have to know who you're selling yourself to, who you're selling your product to. And you have to really understand that. And sometimes I've talked to clients and I've said, okay, so who's your ideal clientele? And they've said, well, everybody should buy my product. Everyone should come to my hotel. Everyone should listen to my music. Okay, but that's not going to help you create an effective strategy. So what you really have to do is you have to narrow that down. You have to understand who you're talking about. So let's say you are promoting a restaurant, and your restaurant, you're saying, well, anyone can come to my restaurant. Okay, well, let's look at your price point. What kind of food are you selling? How much are you charging for your meal? Okay, well, I'm charging an average of $20 for a meal. Okay. And what area of town are you in? Are you in a trendy part of town? Are you in a kind of a less trendy part of town? Are you in a part of town that's surrounded by an older customer? You have to really, really narrow it down and kind of almost make a caricature of each type of person that you're going after. So let's say you say, okay, my restaurant is in a trendy part of town and our price point can attract anyone from 21 to 45. Okay, so let's make a caricature of each of those like age ranges. You've got your 21-year-old kind of new business, like they've just come out of college, maybe they've got their first job, they want to be cool. So, okay, so what do they read? Okay, so they read Glamour magazine. What do they watch? Who do they admire? You really have to kind of try to create these personalities in your clientele, because then you can really address and make sure that where you're focusing your PR or where you're focusing your promotion is going to be effective at the bottom line. It's going to reach the people that really care about what you're doing. So that's how I always go about creating a strategy. I find out who I'm actually targeting, because if you're just blindly trying to get any press, any promotion, it's not necessarily going to feed your bottom line, because at the end of the day, why would you hire a publicist if you're not going to try to sell something? The whole idea is that the publicist is supposed to be a conduit to sales, to increasing your brand awareness, to increasing who you are in the marketplace. So if you don't know who you're trying to get to, then it's not going to work. It's going to be kind of like throwing money in the air. So that's one thing I always say. And then the other reason of a strategy is also going, what are your goals? Like, where do you see yourself in a year's time? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And then you work backwards from there. Like, how am I going to get there? And you have to know yourself what your goals are. Okay, so let's say that you own a fashion line. Okay, so I own a fashion line. I'm making T-shirts out of my house. But in a year from now, I want to be selling 1,000 T-shirts a month. Okay, well, how are you going to get there? What are you going to do to promote yourself, and where do you see your sales coming from? And let's target those areas. So I guess it comes down to really understanding yourself before you start to do any kind of PR. Okay.
Okay. Ms. Jane, sorry, before you start, I have a question. If I want, yes. I don't want to interrupt, but Is it really important for a PR to have a journalistic background? Is that something that you know?
No, not at all. But it doesn't hurt. A lot of great publicists have come from journalism, and I think that, in essence, to be a good publicist, you have to understand journalism, even if you haven't come from that. So you have to read, you have to watch. You definitely have to understand who you're talking to. So if you send a letter to an editor of a magazine, or you send an email to the producer of a TV show or a radio show, or even if you're talking to a fashion blogger or someone on Instagram, know who you're talking to. Research them. Don't just blindly send them something because you've heard that they're good at what they do and they have a lot of following, or they have a huge readership. Don't just send something to the editor-in-chief of Vogue hoping that they will read it and love you automatically, because that's just not going to happen. But if you research and really understand why you're emailing them about who you are or what you're selling, and you reference things that they've done, and you understand their point of view, they're going to respond to you 100 times better. So part of what we do is relationships and really getting to know the editors and the people that we're talking to, because then we know what to send them, what not to send them, and how to send it to them in a way that's going to get more results. I wanted to talk also about the way that PR is developed, because like when I started out, the person that I was working for in my first PR job, she was old school. She came from a time before the internet, before social media, when all you really had was print magazines, radio and television. And if you got your client into Vogue, that was it. You were done. Boom, you did it. Now there's internet. Now there's online. Now there's bloggers. Now there's podcasts and YouTubers and social media, and you have to understand all of that. And it makes things very multi-leveled, and you have to be on top of all those different medias, and you have to be doing 5,000 things at the same time. And you have to understand who's going to make the best impact. And that's really where the celebrity thing came in for me. When I was working for the person I just told you about, the lady who got me started in PR, who worked for Van Cleef & Arpels and Chopard and didn't really understand the internet. She also really didn't understand celebrity, because in her day you had models on the covers of magazines and celebrities really didn't mean anything. And right about when I came to work for her, that's when celebrities became everything. And suddenly we were getting calls from Paris, where the headquarters of Van Cleef were, saying, well, we need to get our jewelry on celebrities, because celebrities really drove the industry. And that's when I realized like that's where it was, and that's why I moved to LA, because I wanted to have that connection to those influencers. And I think that really in this day and age, you need to have those influencers involved in your brand if you're going to make your brand an international brand. It's okay not to have them if you're happy just being small and being in your town or your city, and then you can work within your kind of community. But if you want to grow your brand to be international, you really have to engage those celebrities, and you have to engage the social media influencers in a really effective way. And so being in PR, I wanted to be based in Hollywood, where all the celebrities basically live, so that I could influence them. And I wanted to talk to you about like how to connect your brand to celebrities, because I know how important that is. And a lot of people, especially I feel in Dubai, have an idea that it's all about money. And as long as you have enough money, you can basically get anyone you want to do anything, which is kind of true. I mean, if you have billions of dollars, yeah, everyone has a price, as they say. But is that a really effective use of your money? Probably not. I think the best advice I can give anyone who wants to get celebrities involved in what they're doing is to really understand that celebrities are people. They're human beings. People. Yes. Celebrities are human beings. Wow. I know, it's crazy. But they are human beings, and they are influenced by other things other than money. And I think the best thing for you is to, first of all, know the celebrity that's going to make the best impact on your brand, or the influencer if you want to talk to fashion bloggers or Instagram stars. It's the same principle. Really understand who they are. First of all, from a PR perspective, know the celebrities that are going to influence your brand, because you might have a huge affection for Brad Pitt, but if you're selling beauty and cosmetics, it's not going to help you to get Brad Pitt to talk about your beauty line. So try to put personal ideas aside and really look at who are the celebrities that are going to impact what you're trying to accomplish. And then do your research and figure out who those people are, because everybody is influenced by two things. First of all, they're influenced by money. But if you're not a billionaire and you can't pay them $1 million to come and support your brand, you have the option of the other, which is their own personal affections and their own personal interests. So you can actually get a celebrity to be interested and involved in your brand if you approach them from a personal level through something that they care about, which could be a charity. That's usually the easiest way to go, is to find out what charity they're involved in. What are they really actively speaking out about? Maybe it's their own charity. Maybe it's a charity that they've been involved with for a while. Maybe it's something that's personal to them. And see how you can link that to whatever it is that you're doing. Because if you can really get to them on a personal level, you're going to either get them to do something for you for free, or you're going to get them to do something for you for a lot less than you would if you went to them just purely on a money basis. And that can be a charity, it can be a personal passion. Maybe they're really into skydiving and you can involve skydiving in whatever you're doing, or maybe they're really into race car driving. It could be anything, really. But having people that are, that famous involved in your brand is a fundamentally good thing to do in this day and age, because they are literally the only people who have international influence. And that's really where I have built my company from, has been my relationships with celebrities as my friends, because I've known them for 10 years more, sometimes less, but I grow my celebrity network every single time I do an event in LA, and I do 4 or 5 of them a month. And that's what I've built my brand on, because their reach is amazing. And when they really get passionately involved in something, they can make a huge difference.
Hello? Yes. You know what? Please give her a round of applause, Jane Owen, ladies and gentlemen. I like that. Okay. Yes. I really want to open the floor for questions, because, I have a lot of questions, but I want to start with you guys. So, any questions? Raise your hand and I'll come to you. Right. Hey.
Thank you, Jane. Yes, my name is Shadi. I come from an IT company that targets corporates instead of consumers. I've seen that you have been focusing with your speech on the consumer side of the public relations and marketing. Do you want maybe to shed some light on public relations on the corporate side as well? Would that be possible?
Sure, no, absolutely. Corporations kind of work the same way. You have to, as long as you can identify the businesses that you want to influence, they have personalities of their own. They have things that they want to accomplish. They have targets that they want to meet. They have missions. And if you can speak to them on that level, I think you can really influence them to become part of what you're doing. Can you tell me a little bit more about the kinds of corporations that you're trying to... Okay. So I think, Well, first of all, there's a lot of press that influence those people. So again, going back to what I said before, what do they read? What press is going to make them interested in you? So for example, I work in film, and when a film is being developed, they don't necessarily have any interest in the consumer because there isn't a product to sell to the consumer.
Yeah. See, they're rooting for you guys.
But if you have a film that's in development and you get some press in the trade publications, if you get press in the trade publications, you're going to get the financiers and the corporate people interested in your film before it's made. So for you, with an IT company, and you want to get insurance companies to bring you on as their IT company, then figure out what are the trade publications that influence them. So if you can get an article in that specific business, like maybe it's Business Week, maybe it's Newsweek, maybe it's Forbes, maybe it's, even as much as like IT magazine, you're going to get their interest because they're going to say, oh, this is a company that's being written up. This is a company that people are talking about. We should use them. But you have to know that they are interested in that publication. So you kind of have to do a little investigative research. As a public relations person, the first thing I do when I bring on an account is I do a little bit of investigating, like almost detective work as to who their ideal clientele is and what press can I get them that's actually going to make a difference where they're going to get the phone ringing and suddenly they're going to get this new job. Because that's what I want to do at the end of the day. I want to influence their bottom line. I want them to have paid me but then make 10 times that much because the press I got them actually brought them business rather than just saying, oh, I got you this press, but who gives a shit because nobody's reading it.
Amazing. Any questions, guys? Yes, cool.
Thanks. I just want to know the difference between when someone needs a small to medium-sized PR firm versus one of the larger ones, which
That's kind of why I live in Los Angeles, because I learned very early on in my career the power of the celebrity or the influencer. And obviously this was before Instagram or any of that. This was, like I said, it was the turning point between when models were on covers of magazines and celebrities were on covers. But I really understood that from an early stage. And a lot of the brands that I've built up in my career, like the Rebecca Minkoffs, have really been built off the back of their celebrity support. So one of my main selling points as a PR company is that I have about 200 celebrity contacts that are friends of mine who I have their personal information. I have a relationship with them. Sometimes it's a very vague relationship where they're acquaintances, and sometimes they're my best friend that I've known for 10 years and we do everything together and everything in between. But I know that power of them, and that's what we try to harness at my company.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you want to sum up public relations in one word, what would it be?
One word.
Passion, dedication, connections.
Yeah, I would say relationships.
Relationships.
Yeah, relationships.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jane Owen, please give her a big round of applause. Amazing. Yeah, if you feel like continuing the discussion, of course, please do. We have a crazy lineup when it comes to the musicians today, live performances. I'm very honored to be here. I think it's amazing what you do. And I do believe, I want to say this at the end, I'm a radio host. I host Saudi's first FM hip-hop radio show. And I push for talent, but sometimes these talent do need publicists. They do need someone who can, connect them to the world, because my show will only connect them to a few, not to become famous. But again, I do believe at the end of the day it's all about a passion. So whoever you decide to pick as your publicist, be sure that they look at you as a person, not as a dollar sign. And that's very important. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys very much. Please, we're going to have the amazing live performances in a little bit. A crazy lineup, like I said. Miss Jane Owen, thank you very much. Amazing.